Hey everyone, so I'm starting up on a new build right now and figured this would be a good opportunity for me to try a build along video series. I've been wanting to get back into YouTube for a while now and figured this would be a pretty good chance to do so. So as you can see on the table, we got the Revell 30 Ford Model A Coupe that I'm hoping to build next, and I guess I'll talk you through kind of the game plan for this build and what you can kind of expect for this build. So first off, I've been building a lot of traditional hot rods lately. So late 40s into the 50s, kind of dry lakes El Mirage style builds. Pre-show rods of the 60s. And so that's going to be the vibe for this car, is I'm going to build it into a traditional style hot rod. And as one of the main ways of achieving that, I have this AMT mod rod kit, which comes with an option to build a stock 29 Roadster. So that's going to be the chassis donor for this kit. So it does come with, there on the top, it's got the stock Model A chassis. So we're going to go ahead and use that for the build. And then I also have the Revell 488 Woody that I picked up for nice and cheap because it's not worth much to begin with, and the box on this is pretty rough. But it did come with a 59A flathead, so we're going to go ahead and use that for the build. So it's going to be a AV8 style build. And I guess one of the other things I have in mind is I did some research on the 30 Model A's, and the body in this kit appears to have about a 4.5 inch chop on it, which is a very good looking amount of chop, especially if you look at the box art. That's a very traditional hot rod. But it's not really what I'm feeling for this build. So I do have another roof that the game plan is I'd like to add about 2 inches of height to this roof to kind of give it a 2-inch chop look, which would have been a little more popular at the time, still kind of give it that tall roof look. It's not going to be stock. I don't think I want to make it stock, but I think the 2 inches will be a kind of a good middle ground. Plus, you don't always see people adding, roof material to these kits, so hopefully it'll be something unique. So that's going to be the first thing I'm tackling on this build, because that's going to be a pretty big game changer if it doesn't work out. If I mess up that process, then that's going to pretty much kill the build, unless I can, maybe go on eBay and find someone who's selling an additional roof that I can get for cheap. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start with that now and see how this works out. I've also got a few parts on my 3D printer right now. You might be able to hear that in the background. So that should be done in about an hour. So hopefully by the time that the roof is done, I can show you some of the other parts I'm hoping to throw on this build. But for now, that's kind of the game plan, and hopefully I'll see you in a minute. Because if you're seeing this clip, then chances are the roof worked. Because if it didn't, I'm probably scrapping this video. So hopefully that's foreshadowing. So I went ahead and got the cut lines marked up on the two roofs. So, little tip for anyone who's building in 1/25th scale. When measuring, 1 inch in real life is very, very, very nearly 1 millimeter in 1/25th scale. It's a small decimal, like 1.0 something or other, but close enough that when you're building, you can just consider 1 millimeter is 1 inch. So if you're chopping a car, say you wanted to take 4 inches out, you could chop 4 millimeters out of a 1/25th. It does not work for 1/24th, but a 1/25th scale, if you take 4 millimeters out, that is the same as doing a 4-inch chop on a real car. Anyways, so I measured up the window openings on the kit, and the windows are 10 inches. So we're going to go ahead and try to go for a 12-inch window. I could probably figure it out, but I have not looked up to see what the stock window opening is in order to actually compare it, but it doesn't matter. So what I went ahead and did is I took a ruler and I measured 7 mil up from the windowsills on the body, and then I measured 5 mil, aka the center, on this roof. So we'll go ahead and cut here, discard the bottom, cut here, discard the top, graft it together, and that should give us a 12-inch window opening and hopefully a 2-inch looking chop. I might go ahead and see if I can figure out the actual stock window opening before I commit to this. I probably should. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then if all goes good, we'll continue through with our process. Alright, so I'm back from my research and found the original blueprints for a 1930 Coupe and cross-referenced the measurements onto here, and found out that this car has, the kit has about a 2.5-inch chop, which I'm looking at my reference photos again. I guess I can see it being about a 3-inch chop. It still looks a little low for a 2.5-inch chop for me, and even still kind of looks like a 4-inch chop, but anyways, it's a 2.5-inch chop. So I am going to go ahead and go through with adding the 2 inches to the roof line. I know then it would essentially be a 1/2-inch chop, but for the most part it will look stock, and it's going to be a little hard adding that 0.5 millimeter in. I guess if I really wanted to, I could use some sheet styrene that is about 0.5 mil thick to raise it up a tiny bit, and we'll see how it looks. But yeah, so I know I had said in the beginning of this I did not want a stock roof car, but looking at some more reference photos of cars that I've liked, and I'm kind of copying the vibe of, I think a stock body will look good. It will kind of give it that jalopy hot rod kind of look, which is kind of the game for this. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead, get this all cut up, and get back to you. So here's the body all mocked up. It's not glued together or anything yet, but took some measurements and I got it out to 48 millimeters tall, which is pretty much stock. The stock car is 47 7/8 inches or something like that tall. So digging it, looks pretty good. I also did keep the roof on the cut up parts of the roof and just mocked them up on this body. I don't know why my camera doesn't want to focus on it, but this comes out to about a 7-inch chop, so this would be a cool build to do a bagged style coupe. Throw some big wheels on the rear and then throw some up front. That'd be a pretty cool build, but not what we're doing right now. So I'm going to go ahead, glue the roof on, finish up the body work. There's still a seam down here where the body is attached to the roof. I did glue it in just to make cutting easier, but I'm going to go ahead and do all that body work and get the body done tonight, and that's going to be where I call it. Alright, so here we are after the initial smoothing has been done after gluing the body together. I'm still going to go ahead and throw some body putty over it and then let it cure overnight and then come back and sand it hopefully tomorrow. But I also threw it up on the AMT chassis just to kind of get a little bit of a mock-up going, and threw the motor in the front as well. It's a little hard to tell from the angle, but there's a pretty good gap in between where the wheel wells from the Revell body and the AMT chassis are, so I might use that to my advantage and Z the frame a little bit. We are going to try to lower this a good bit to give it that hot rod stance. Going to use a drop axle up front and probably Z the frame in the rear. But I also teased earlier, but we are going to use the kit tires. I'm still trying to figure out what wheels I want to do, so I'll show these off first. This is a stock Model A wheel that I've designed, You don't typically see these on hot rods because, first off, they're not commonly widened, even though I did widen them for this purpose. They're also not very strong with side-to-side movement because they only have single spokes on the top layer, and also they're prone to rusting on the inside of the beads. So long story short, they're not commonly used on hot rods. That's why you would typically see 32 and later wire wheels used. So I might use this as an excuse to design up some 32 style wire wheels for this build, possibly. I kind of like the original Model A wheels, but if we're going for more realism here, they won't really cut it. Alternatively, I do have an artillery style wheel, a wide 5, so this is a late 30s style wheel like you see on like a 38, I think. And then I do have hubs for this designed as well, so I might use these. I don't know if it would be quite the right vibe for this build. I do think it would look better with the wire wheels, but these are an option. I do also have fronts for both of them. So obviously it's not going to be this low, but just to give you an idea, we'll throw these on the mock-up. Yeah, well, it wants to leave, but yeah, to kind of give you an idea. So I think, whatever. I'm going to throw some putty on it tonight and call it there. So that's going to conclude my first update on this build. And I'll fill you in the further I get with this build. Hoping to be a pretty short build. There is a model contest coming up in November that I'm hoping to have this done for. So I don't want to rush it, but if I can get it done in time, that'd be great. But yeah, so thanks for watching and look forward to some more updates. Bye.